This is the $395 Capital One Venture X. I applied the very first day it came out 4 years ago. And since that time, I can confidently tell us that if this annual fee and the benefits more or less stay the same as they more or less have been, which I'll get into details further into this video, then whether it's 10 years, 20 years, or in 50 years from now, I will definitely keep this card. Getting the elephant out of the room, for anyone that doesn't know, that $395, each and every year, you're basically gonna get $300 travel credit. It's gonna be specific for Capital One's travel portal, where you can book hotels, airlines, rental cars, and more. And from there, there's still $100 left over. And so again, every anniversary when you pay your annual fee, you get 10,000 miles as an anniversary bonus. And these miles, again, they can be redeemed for cashback, transferring to partners, which is a more optimal play, and extra details, which I'll explain later into the video. But right there, that's basically saying, hey, there is a real tangible way to get $400 back by paying $395, so you're still coming out ahead, all else equal. When I first applied for the card, the sign-up bonus was 100,000 miles, which if you use that on the Capital One portal, then you're gonna get $1,000 worth of travel. This card specifically, when you redeem miles for cashback, they're at a value of 0.5 cents per point. So in English, that means if you actually redeem these miles for cashback, you're actually gonna get half of what you could be getting by just redeeming on the travel portal. Or if you're transferring out to partners like airlines and hotels, you could get even more value, where that 100,000 miles would be $500 in cashback equivalent. Today, if you're applying for the Capital One Venture X, you're looking at 75,000 miles after $4K spent in the first 3 months. Over time, bonuses can change, so definitely check out the latest. And speak of the devil, right after I recorded this, there's a limited time offer with the Capital One Venture X, which is exactly the same sign-up bonus offer when it first came out at 100,000 miles after 10K spent in the first 6 months. That being the case though, it's pretty competitive, I would say, across the board, whether you're comparing it with, let's say, your 95 to 195 annual fee ranges, all the way to that premium travel credit card range. The extra detail there is that the minimum spend here is 4K versus when you look at maybe like an Amex Platinum, that's more of that 8K range. And over the years, the minimum spend amount can also differ. This range of annual fee, this card definitely has quite a few benefits and perks. At the same time, I'll be going over some of my favorite and some of the things that I wish I knew before the fact. First is gonna be the fact that you get 2x miles on each and every dollar spent, irrespective of category. For me, day to day, I am definitely the optimizer, maximizer type of mindset. I don't really mind if it's like, hey, this particular card gets us that much more cash back or points or miles on each and every dollar spent. And that's just something that it's fun to me and I don't mind. But there's definitely the other side where it's like, hey, I just wish if I had only one card, it would just do everything. This card definitely at 2x miles per each and every dollar spent. Yeah, it's not 3 or 5 or even more, but it's definitely not capping you at like 1 or 1.5, where you're just kind of like, oh, I wish I could do better. So in this fashion, you're basically gonna get 2x miles for each and every dollar spent. And what that really means is you don't need to think about it. You just swipe, tap, what have us, and keep on going with your day. That 2x is if you're not spending on specific items. So in other words, if you spend on the Capital One travel portal, you'll get 10x miles on each and every dollar spent for hotels and rental cars, and 5x on flights and vacation rentals. So in my personal experience, I don't rent cars that often, but each and every time I have, going through this Capital One travel portal has actually been, I'm not gonna say life-changing, that's pretty drastic, but at the same time, it's been pretty valuable. The reason I say it is like, hey, it's like whenever I am doing this, let's just say it's a $400 purchase, just putting that number out there for a few days car rental, pretty economy type of car, what have us, right? And if you're getting 10x back, like that's 4,000 miles, which in cashback, it's one value. But if you're transferring out to partners, then you could be looking at more value. So instead of 10% back, to me, it's like, hey, I'm getting at least, let's say 15% back, just the way I value Capital One's miles, because there's different partners. And yeah, there's not maybe the optimal ones I want, for example, Hyatt or Alaska Airlines or American Airlines, where you can get even more value. But there's still quite a few airlines where if you look at, for example, Air France or KLM, they're basically a partner with everyone, whether you look at Citi, Wells Fargo, Chase, Amex, and in this case, Capital One as well. And at the same time, Wyndham Rewards, if I need a way to stack a few more points because I just need that many more points for redemption, then that's a way that I can leverage this card as well. One of the biggest things about the rental car side of things is that you also get Hertz's President Circle status. That's their highest level status, like being diamond at a hotel chain, for example. What this means is even though I'm booking, let's say a third-party booking, because that's how it classifies on the Capital One travel portal, I've definitely seen that if I'm booking Hertz, even though it's not through the website, I can still have this status honored. Now, it's not a guarantee every time, but in my personal experience, it's worked and it's been very, very fruitful. Where if I'm paying like a standard economy rate, but now I'm driving a Mustang, right? To me, I don't even drive really fancy cars, let's say, right? But I've been upgraded to a Tesla, a Mustang, and a Mustang twice actually, yeah. So in that regard, to me, it's priceless because I didn't pay for it out of pocket, but I've seen that value. From there, nowadays, a lot of cards come with this global entry or TSA pre-check credit, where essentially you can get past security that much faster, whether you're domestically in America or you're traveling. And that's great, but I would say that's like brass tacks, right? Like kind of like, hey, if you're paying this annual fee, you better have this, or else, it's like, why wouldn't you have it, right? So with that, let's just keep it going. So from there, we got airport lounge access. Here, we get Priority Pass, where you get access to 1,300 plus lounges across the world. This same perk is given to us through American Express with the Platinum Card, as well as Chase's Sapphire Reserve. In addition to these 1,300 plus lounges that we have available worldwide, Capital One also has its personal lounge network. Similar to American Express and Chase, where Amex has its Centurion Lounge network, and Chase, they're known as their Sapphire Lounge network, you have Capital One's. And here, there's not that many locations at this time, but in the industry, it's becoming more common to see like, okay, this particular vendor, merchant, brand has their line of lounges. And so today, time of recording, there's 6 locations available. And I assume that over the years, it'll become maybe 10, maybe 20, and maybe even more, right? I'll share a story where this hits home beautifully. When I had this card, there weren't that many other people that had it. Over the years, definitely the popularity of this card, it kept on going and everyone was applying for it, getting it great. For not really anyone, because lounges eventually had really long lines. So in the very beginning, I was traveling every week for work, and so DFW, Dallas Fort Worth, at lounge, Capital One's, I would walk in and literally, the first day, the second day, or the second and third and fourth instance rather, over time, the staff knew me. They're like, hey, you're always coming here. I basically had the whole lounge to myself. And they had beautiful drinks, beautiful food, like all the things, right? And you can go shower, you're not waiting for anybody. You can go into a certain room where it's like a pod room where you can chill, rest, whatever, right? And so it's like you have this play space where it's like private access, but there's no one there. It's like a first class lounge or business class lounge, but it's like a general normal lounge. And the staff, in the beginning, usually when things open up, right? Like you always want to have the best effort and the best foot forward because first impressions matter a lot of publicity and all the things. And I'm not saying that should stop, over time. If anything, that's how the brand can maintain its reputation. But all that to say that the access I had was priceless. And how rested I felt, how fed I felt, how everything, right? It was seamless, and eventually, over time, rules change, right? So I'm able to get into the lounge as I was over time. And one of the beautiful things about this card, man, you get 4 authorized users for free back in the day, where basically you can have them having this access, but not just to the lounges, right? When they have this, they can also get Priority Pass as a benefit. So one person, AKA me, let's say I have 4 people, right? 4 authorized users. Now those people can have Priority Pass. And with Priority Pass access, they can bring, let's say them and 2 other guests. So now we're talking 3 people times 4 under me, right? So that's like 12 people plus then myself is another 3. So in short, one person like me could get 15 people into a lounge. And I'm not surprised how lines basically increased exponentially once people were like, wow, there's so much value to be had from this card and its benefits. All of that to say, coming February 1st, 2026, so maybe this has already happened by the time you're watching this video, you're gonna still be able to add your authorized users. But if you want them to have that lounge access, you're gonna have to pay $125 for each of them. So in the end, this perk is basically going away, but it was definitely great while it lasted. It sucks for the people waiting in line, including myself, but I can definitely understand that, hey, there was value to be had, and people were milking the value. What can I say? I'll share some of the things that are not just the perks and benefits that I've learned about this card by having this personal experience, and then basically what you really want to know. So the first is essentially that on Facebook, I'm not really browsing Facebook like that nowadays, but if you are, I'd love to hear that. Comment down below because I don't think people are using Facebook, but there's so much activity on there. So It's a conundrum in my own head, but I share this because there's Facebook groups where they're like, hey, there's an offer, like Amex has certain offers on certain merchants where it's like, hey, did you guys get this offer deposited into your account? Or like with Chase, hey, do you have this offer? And in this case, Capital One has offers like Capital One Shopping. It's similar more to Rakuten, where basically with Rakuten, you're getting X amount of points or cash back. So what that means is if you're, let's say, shopping with Lululemon, maybe normally it's 5X points or 5% back on each every dollar spent. If you go to Rakuten.com, access Lululemon and go to their site. And sometimes they have promos where it's even more, like let's say 15%. With that being the case though, Capital One, same difference. If you're shopping at Sephora, if you're shopping at Macy's, certain places, you're also gonna have these like cashback enablements for certain merchants. And on Facebook, basically they'll be sharing like, hey, it's 26 miles per dollar spent and this happened, or hey, it's 50X miles for something, right? And obviously the numbers are pretty crazy, but the product and service really that you're buying also may be very unique and not something where you're getting 2X or 3X or something more standard by going through the portal. So something like this, there's a lot of value to have. At the same time, I don't really like promoting to spend to get miles unless if it's organic or otherwise, but there's definitely a lot of value if you kind of go into those groups and see, oh, hey, there's actually something I was going to do anyways, and I could get so much more value than doing it in a typical means of just using my card to check out on the actual site and getting, let's say, 2X miles on each every dollar spent, which is cool, but you could actually get a lot more. Another aspect is having other Capital One cards in the mix. For example, if you have, let's say, the Capital One Saver, which typically earns cash back. Now you have the Venture X, you actually earn in miles. So if you have both of these cards, you can kind of pool your miles and points and then get even more value. So from that perspective, it's kind of like, hey, I'm not stuck in cashback if I have this card. Because you have more cards in the ecosystem, you can have that many more options. Speaking about miles, you also have timeframes where you have bonus multipliers for transferring out to partners. So similar to Amex or Chase, if we have 1,000 miles and we can transfer them to Air France or KLM at a 1-to-1 ratio, then there are times where it's like, hey, transfer 1,000 and get 1,200 miles on the other side. Or if you're having British Airways, aka Avios miles here, you can also have, hey, send 1,000, but instead you'll be getting 1,300 in those time frames. So that itself is more just a general feature which we take for granted nowadays. Let's say if a card issuer didn't offer this nowadays, then it would be like, dude, what are you doing? Like everyone else is doing this. I would say the biggest, most impactful value add to share here is the fact that if you're really looking at having cards within the same ecosystem, like Capital One is great and they'll have new products, I'm sure, right? But you can kind of hear it in the tone of my voice. Like they're good, but maybe they're not like Amex or Chase, where in American Express's ecosystem as a whole, you have so many cards where you earn membership reward points if you want to optimize for that points ecosystem, or with Chase, you earn ultimate reward points. And yes, the transfer partners could be different between Chase and Amex and Capital One, but you also have ones that are basically along the same intersection if it's like A intersection B intersection C, if you know what I mean from math. So what I'm getting at in short is that depending on your strategy or how you want to play the game, it may make sense to not consider Capital One for the longer term if you have certain partners or an optimization strategy. But if you want to keep things simple, like this card, it's so simple. It's so straightforward. And what else can I say? It's basically, I would recommend it to a friend because it's the easiest premium travel credit card that I could say that, hey, you will get value, all else equal, right? Paying your bill in full, on time, all the proper financial disciplines, but there is no reason that you wouldn't really get value. Where nowadays with American Express, their Platinum card, or Chase's Sapphire Reserve, there's a laundry list of credits to break even, to break even, to break even. Unless, that's a part of your lifestyle, then those cards would just make that much more sense for you. So funny enough, both of these cards, I actually have my own stance on them. So I'll leave both videos over here. You can choose them between the Amex Platinum or the Chase Sapphire Reserve. There's pretty much 7 reasons to keep or cancel these cards. But with that, thanks for coming to the end. And if you came to this part of the video, on a personal side of things, I did want to say that I'm building a hotel where essentially, if you ever wanted that opportunity, instead of just spending on credit cards to get the points and loyalty and perks and status with your Hilton, Hyatt, IHG, Marriott, you can have the same thing, but on the flip side. So basically owning a part of the hotel. So there's 250 hotel rooms in the whole project. There's around 100-ish left at the time of recording at least, so it's pretty much selling. I'm doing a lot of work in the background apart from just recording YouTube videos, right? And so with that, there's a link in the description below. Happy to talk one-on-one, give us all the info. And if you're interested, great. If you have other credit card related questions, I'm really happy to answer. I'm an open book. And with that, now I'll really see you in the next one. Thanks for coming to the end. Peace.